Good morning, all. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give folks a moment to enter from the waiting room and connect to audio. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are speaking or testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, we are joined by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you very much. As a reminder, once again, please do remain on mute unless or until you are testifying before the board. Please also ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. This morning's hearing will begin with 3 transactional items before moving on to this morning's regularly scheduled license premise inspection hearing. For the transactional portion of this morning's hearing, I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the applicant. You'll make a brief presentation regarding your proposal, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. Following questions, there will be testimony, beginning with elected officials or their representatives. Please limit your testimony to 2 minutes, and please state your name, address, and affiliation, if any. And once again, at the conclusion of the 3rd transactional item, we will move on to the regularly scheduled license premise inspection hearing. Calling item number 1 on this morning's transactional agenda, Seaport Hotel Limited Partnership, doing business as Seaport Hotel, located at 1 Seaport Lane. Holder of an in-holder all alcoholic beverages license has petitioned to change the manager of the licensed business from Mariana Acamando Taylor to Janet Oriana. And secondly, has petitioned for a change of officers, directors of its sole general partner, Commonwealth Flats Development Hotel Corp. Who is present on behalf of the applicant? Oh, I see that Attorney Lashway said she's unable to unmute herself. Let me see if I can help with that. Attorney Lashway, I've just asked you to unmute. Something should have popped up on your screen. I don't know if you saw that or not. Okay, we will take a second call for this item then. Maybe if you could try disconnecting and reconnecting, or if that still doesn't work, maybe try calling in on the phone number listed. We'll move on for the moment to item number 2 while we figure this out. Calling Colonial Tavern, Inc., doing business as Jacques Restaurant, located at 77 to 79 Broadway. Holder of a general on-premises all alcoholic beverages license, has petitioned to change the manager of the licensed business from Kristen Turilli to Henry D. Vara III. And secondly, has petitioned for a change of officers directors. Lastly, has petitioned for a change of stock interest. Attorney Carolyn Conway. Attorney Conway.
Thank you, Attorney Green. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have with me today Mr. Henry Vara III, who is the proposed manager of the premises and also is going to be an owner and also a shareholder. This one is a little weird. The estate of Angelina Vara has owned all of the shares in Colonial Tavern since approximately 1977. Eventually, we got down to the beneficiaries of the estate of Angelina Vara were Mr. Vara's father, Henry D. Vara Jr., and Carmen Vara, who was domiciled in Georgia. What we've done, Mr. Vara Jr. assigned his interest in the estate of Angelina Vara to his 3 children, Henry, Christian, and Holly. Henry, Christian, and Holly, in turn, bought the interests of the other beneficiary of the estate of Angelina Vara, the Georgia VARs, if you will, and for the amount of $194,000. So what we have is that the three VARs are on there. They now own the estate of Angelina Vara. You also have a direction to the estate to distribute the stock to the Vara children individually. So what will end up is Colonial Tavern will now be owned by Henry Vara, Christian Vara, and Holly Vara. They become the officers and directors of Colonial Tavern. And also Mr. Vara is taking over as manager, and the estate of Angelina Vara is going to be wound up, and it's going to go away. So it's something that took a long time, but it needs to be done. Mr. Vara himself has been a manager on several licensed premises in the city of Boston. He was a licensed premise manager for Gainsborough Restaurant, for the Dockside, and he was last manager for the license at Saturday Afternoon out on Boylston Street. He is a citizen, a member, a resident of the Commonwealth of Mass, and also very familiar with the rules and regulations. Other than that, nothing with respect to the operation is going to change. It's just took a long time to get here, but to just straighten out all the stock. And so it will be the individual owners. I can answer any questions you have. You have all of the documents. I'm just trying to explain all those documents that you have.
Thank you, Attorney Conway. Thank you for that explanation. Thank you, Mr. Vara, for joining us. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
I have no questions. Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any individuals who would like to testify on this matter? Seeing none, the board will take this under advisement. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Calling item number 3 on this morning's transactional agenda, Cal Yummy Corp. doing business as Cafe Lava and Bento, located at 290 to 298 Washington Street in Brighton, has applied for a common victualler 7-day wines and malt beverages license to be exercised on the above 2,600 square foot business on 1 floor with long counter, 60 seats, 2 restrooms, storage and kitchen, 1 entrance and 1 exit, along with an 80 square foot seasonal March to October outdoor patio on private property with seating for 11 and a closing hour of 9 p.m. Manager Kim Tu Nguyen, who is present on behalf of the applicant.
Hi, my name Kim.
Thank you very much for being with us this morning. If you could please briefly present your proposal and concept to the board.
Hi, I recent gent owner from Cafe Nero. So now we provide food for client. So we would like to offer the client more like different kind of food so they can enjoy, and we build customer loyalty. And then when the people have lunch and dinner, so they can enjoy their food with beer and wine. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Ms. Nguyen, are you a citizen?
Yes.
Do you live in Massachusetts?
Yes.
You've described your experience in the food and beverage industry. Are you familiar with our rules and regulations, the rules and regulations of the ABCC and the laws of the Commonwealth as they pertain to the sale and service of alcohol?
Yes, I read it. Yeah.
Okay.
I have worked in the food industry like for 12 years.
12 years. Okay, great. Thank you. I have no further questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Maybe just a housekeeping. Is the manager of record listed on our notice? Is it on the?
Right. It's in the posted notice that right here, Manager Kim Tu Nguyen.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No questions.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any individuals who would like to testify on this matter, beginning with elected officials or their representatives?
Yes, hello, Madam Chair, members of the board. Frank Mendoza here, Alton Brighton liaison for the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services, here to testify that the applicant did have a abutters meeting on Tuesday, February 6th. There were no abutters in attendance. We did also ask the applicant to reach out to the local civic association, the Brighton Nelson Improvement Association. We have not yet heard back from the BAIA as to their stance on this project. Other than that, we have no letters of support or opposition, and we'd like to defer to the judgment of the board.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals who would like to testify
Thank
on
you.
this matter? Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Returning back to item number 1, I
This
do
time.
believe Attorney Lashway was able to join us.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. So once again, item number 1, Seaport Hotel Limited Partnership, doing business as Seaport Hotel at 1 Seaport Lane, has petitioned to change the manager of the licensed business from Mariana Accomando Taylor to Janet Oriana, and has petitioned for a change of officers directors of its sole general partner, Commonwealth Flats Development Hotel Corp. Attorney Lashway?
Yes, good morning, Executive Secretary Ms. Green and members of the licensing board. My apologies that I'm having technical difficulties. I hope you can hear me all right. I am Elizabeth Lashway here for the Seaport Hotel Limited Partnership. And this is an application to change the manager of record of the Seaport Hotel and the president and director of Commonwealth Flats Development Hotel Corporation, which is the sole general partner of the Seaport Hotel. By way of background, this is an in-holder all alcoholic beverages license. They've been licensed since 1998. And the Seaport Hotel has 2 partners, one of which is Commonwealth Flats Development Hotel Corporation. That is the sole general partner of the Seaport Hotel and has a 1% ownership interest in the hotel. As the sole general partner, Commonwealth Flats Development Hotel Corporation is the entity that makes the important decisions about the hotel, and they are the one that decides who will serve as the manager of record. So we're here to change the president and director of Commonwealth Flats Development Hotel Corporation. Previously, the president and director was Suzanne Heidelberger, and we've changing the person to Lauren Bruhard. She is a Massachusetts resident, a U.S. citizen, and has no criminal record. She has no personal ownership in the licensee as well. The other officers and directors are staying the same. And the other part of our application is a change of the manager of record. The new manager of record is Janet Orellana, and she is, you can see her here today on Zoom. Her background is that she's worked at the Seaport Hotel since 2015, about nine years ago. She started as a server and she's worked her way up to a director and now manager of record. She is a Massachusetts resident and US citizen. She's tip certified, and the Seaport Hotel has a policy that all of its employees be tip certified. And she's familiar with the rules and regulations of the City of Boston and the ABCC. So we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, attorney, and thank you for joining us, Ms. Orellana. I have no questions at this time. Commissioner Carr or Commissioner Saxon?
I have no questions. Thank you.
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any individuals who would like to testify on this matter? Seeing none, the board will take this under advisement as well. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That will conclude the transactional portion of this morning's hearing. The board will now transition to its licensed premise inspection hearing. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, Tremont 958 Restaurant Corporation, doing business as Slade's Bar and Grill, located at 958 Tremont in Roxbury. Date of the incident, February 19th, 2023. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, a firearm ×2, in front of licensed premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney James Dilday, D-I-L-D-A-Y. Unfortunately, I don't have an appearance filed in front of you, but I can give you some background information. My bar number is 124360. The law firm is Dilday Law, LLC, at 299 Gallivan Boulevard, Dorchester, 02124.
Thank you, Attorney Dilday. And who do you have with you on behalf of the licensee?
Brittany Papil should be here. She's the manager of the establishment. And if you see something in the background, you're gonna see my 7-year-old granddaughter.
Great. Thank you for that. And we do see Ms. Papil. Any other witnesses you plan to present this morning?
No,
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I'm Lieutenant Detective Hopkins. I was issued a summons from D4 districts.
Thank you, Detective Hopkins. Is it possible to turn your camera on so that we can swear you in?
I'm not sure. I'm doing it from my phone. Can you see? Let me see.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Detective. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Okay, can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you, Detective Hopkins. If you could please read the police report into the record for us.
About 11:34 p.m. Saturday, February 18th, officers assigned to D4 responded to a radio call for a person shot outside of 958 Trinity Street, Boston. Upon arrival, officers located 2 victims in the area of 958 Tremont Street. One victim was suffering from a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the leg. A second victim was transported by Boston EMS to Boston Medical Center, where he was pronounced deceased. It was determined that the victim suffered from a gunshot wound to the back. The Boston Police Homicide Unit Squad 5 responded for the investigation. In conjunction with the personnel from the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, ongoing investigation, the victim succumbed to his injuries, and the witness and video surveillance of the area depicts the incident and the suspect wearing the clothing. At the time of this, the ballistic evidence. See, I have to change this a little because it's an ongoing homicide investigation. But basically, the facts that I read that we responded, and the 2 people were shot, and 1 person was pronounced deceased. That's basically the overall of the whole incident, sir. I just can't get too much into a homicide, ongoing homicide.
Thank you, Detective Hopkins. That is very helpful. Attorney Dilday, would you like to address the alleged incident?
thank you. Detective, there's nothing in the police report to indicate that the incident happened inside Slade's Bar and Grill, is there?
No, it occurred outside.
And also, Detective, is there anything in the police report to indicate that the individuals were inside Slade's Bar and Grill?
Not in this report, sir. No, I'm not gonna. I can't. Yes, I will not say. I can't comment.
Detective, I understand. So I guess my real question is: there's nothing from the individuals who took the initial police report. There was nothing to indicate that Slade's Bar and Grill was involved by having the people fighting inside the place. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And there's nothing in that report also to indicate that the incident took place as a result of an argument inside that place. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And also, there's nothing to indicate. I don't think I have any more questions.
Thank you, Attorney Dilday. Anything further? Do you have any questions for Ms. Papil before the board?
The only thing that I would like to add is that the information, when the detective talked about I think he talked about, video cameras or whatever. The video was taken from the licensee because the licensee has cameras outside and the cameras captured the incident. And I think what's really important is to show that the cameras captured the incident, but there was never any indication in the police report or in the investigation leading up to us coming here to indicate that the licensee had anything to do with it, or that the individuals were on the premises of the licensee, or that the licensee was aware of it. It just appears to be a situation where they were unfortunate enough to have this incident take place in front of their establishment.
Do you like my toothbrush?
And unfortunately, they cannot control the street outside of their establishment.
Do you like my toothbrush, Robin?
Yes.
Thank you, Attorney Gilday. Anything further before we move to questions from the board?
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it fall on the floor.
Like confetti.
Oh. Great. Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions from the board, beginning with Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. So we have a police report that says, right here, one second. We have a police report that says 2 patrons exited. I just lost it, sorry. Oh, right here. The second paragraph, when our licensed premise unit followed up. We haven't read that in yet, but the inspection came about because of an incident that took place on February 19th in front of Slade's when 2 patrons exited the establishment and confronted a male outside. This confrontation resulted in 2 persons being shot. Was that part read into the record?
No, it wasn't.
That had
No,
not
what-
been to the record. Who,
Can I offer something? I believe that Sergeant Gallagher issued that license premise.
Right.
I-
He's here.
I was responding officer. I'm not sure that he,
Mhm.
that's,
I'm sorry, what did you say? You're not sure those were the right facts?
no, I was just only present during the
Okay,
initial, the night of the incident, I responded.
okay,
And
so
I'm-
why don't we read, Sergeant Gallagher's here, so
Yeah.
let's have him read that in.
Mhm.
thank you,
Okay.
Sergeant Gallagher. Can you please raise your right hand?
Yeah, please.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
What is scientific?
Good morning, this is Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Boston Police, reading from a report that for some reason Lieutenant Hawkins' name is on it, but I think this is something that I wrote. This is myself and Detective Hernandez's follow-up. And we're only there to provide some information and also issue the license premise violation. But the report reads as follows. On 3/24/2023 at 9:45 p.m., Sergeant Detective Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the licensed premise unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of Slade's at 958 Tremont Street. This inspection came about because of an incident that took place on 2/19/23 at 11:34 p.m. Boston Police Incident Report number, the last 4 on that 3379, in front of Slade's when 2 patrons exited the establishment and confronted males outside. Confrontation resulted in 2 persons being shot. One of the victims was pronounced dead after arriving at Boston Medical Center. BPD units from D4 responded, as did homicide, crime scene, and BPD command staff to process the scene. While processing the crime scene, the manager and employees cooperated with responding BPD officers and detectives. During the subsequent inspection, Sergeant Detective Gallagher and Detective Hernandez spoke to the manager, Mr. J. Howard, who stated that Slade's searches all patrons entering the bar. Detectives did witness as they spoke with Mr. Howard in front of the premise. As a result, what had occurred on 2/19/23, Sergeant Gallagher issued a license premise violation 027339 to Slade's for assault and battery, deadly weapon, firearm ×2 in front of licensed premise. Mr. J. Howard signed for and accepted the notice. That's what we have right there.
Thank you, Sergeant Gallagher.
Right.
Attorney Gilday, is there anything further you would like to say after hearing that additional report before we move back to the board for questions? Oh, sorry, you're currently on mute.
Okay, sorry. I'd like to have Ms. Brittany Papil, if I could ask her a couple of questions.
You may.
Ms. Papil, were you working at the premises on the date of the incident?
I was not.
Okay. Do you have any information as to what happened inside the facility at all on the date of the incident?
Yes, per
Could you
the video camera.
And what did the video camera show?
It showed that the gentleman that passed away was trying to get into the establishment. He was stopped in the sort of like doorway area where the front door was open, and the security stated they requested the typical like patting him down, sort of screening, and that due to his demeanor and like the way he refused, that they told him to step outside. So he never actually made it fully into the building. He was in the threshold of the door.
Dad,
So am I to understand that the individual was prevented from entering the premises?
Correct. Due to his behavior and reluctancy to be fully searched.
I have nothing further at this time.
Thank you, Attorney Dilday. We'll move back to the board to see if there are any further questions at this time. Chairman Joyce.
Thank you. Could someone explain to me what kind of security you have at the front door? How many people work there? How many security you have inside?
Yes, at the time of the incident, at the front door at that event, there were 2 security guards were searching people before they entered the actual building. Like we have a doorway, a front door, and then a kind of sort of small hallway area, and before you enter the bar. So 2 security guards were in that space, receiving people. Typically, they do that on a colder day rather than searching people completely outside. And then there were another one. I'm just thinking about the video that I watched numerous times, 3 to 4 other security guards that were inside the premises. Since that event, we have moved on to a different security team, and Mr. J. Howard is no longer with us, and none of the security guards that worked that event work at Slade's any longer. We have a third-party company that we've hired many months since that event.
Do we have a copy of the video? Or is it available?
The Boston Police have a very lengthy, like full 24-hour I think they had techs come to Slade's, and I helped them record every camera option that's available.
Were there any fights that happened inside the premise leading up to these 2 patrons leaving?
No, not to my knowledge. This event didn't prevail inside into the building at all.
And if I may clarify something, Madam Chair, is that the individuals, when they say there were 2 parties that are leaving the place, one individual, you can see him exiting the door, but he was never inside the premises. He was turned down, so he was not allowed to enter the premises. And I think the way it's been categorized is that the individual had been inside, but he was not inside the premises.
Okay, and was this a special event this night? You keep talking about the event.
No, it wasn't a special event.
Wasn't a ticketed event?
It was a ticketed event, yes.
Did you have promoters?
The promoter, it was a birthday party, so it was a Slade's event with particular themes of a birthday, which one of those parties is a manager.
Okay, is that a private party for the manager?
Like it was a Slade's event that, and in the promotion, the theme, like celebrate this person's birthday. Like that was the only theme of the event.
Your attorney is saying that one of the 2 people described in the police report exiting was never inside the licensed premise. Is that correct?
The gentleman that I mentioned, yes, he was at the door.
I'm thinking there's three people I'm thinking about, the two people in the police report exiting and then the shooter. So are you saying that the shooter was never inside?
I don't even, I'm not sure like who the shooter is or
Okay.
like it.
So the two people, can you tell me of the three people that are described in the police report, were any of them inside and how many? Did they buy tickets to the event? Were they, I mean, I'm trying to determine if they knew each other, if there was a fight inside and did the fight lead outside? Or are you telling me that a random person walked down the street and shot two people leaving?
The gentleman that was turned away was a random individual that we knew nothing about.
Okay.
The other gentleman that was in the video, like there are two shooters. So when you say shooter, it's like, it's confusing, but both of those gentlemen were not gentlemen that I or anybody would say that they'd seen at that establishment before or had any arguments inside the establishment or outside or previously before that event.
So was that person, was he, did security inspect him before you're saying you didn't let him in, why?
Because he refused, like, there was a security guard at the door as well as a manager at the door at the time. So, you know, what that manager described is that the gentleman, before the door closed behind him, he was disgruntled and he just didn't observe like a regular behavior that an individual that would be, you know, he wasn't comfortable with being searched. And so they communicated with the door open and then he was told to go outside.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I do. So this is pretty difficult for us, I think, because we haven't seen the video. So the first thing I want to establish is, can we get the video from the Boston Police? Are we going to be able to see this? Or is this a problem because of the ongoing investigation, or where are we at with our ability to see the video?
My impression is, Commissioner, is that the matter is with the homicide and with the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, and it's before the court right now. So I'm not entirely sure if we can view the video.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Okay, so Ms. Papil, you've seen the video and you said that through the video you can identify that there's two shooters. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and where are those shooters in physically, geographically from your front door?
They're on the sidewalk.
Right on the sidewalk in front of the front door.
One gentleman is near to the cross street of the sidewalk, like further left where the street light pole is, and the other gentleman was in front of the building.
Okay, and from the video, can you see where they came from?
You can see, yeah, you can see that the gentleman in front of the building came from the front door where he was told to leave. And the other gentleman looks like he came from the left side of the building, like from the street.
So am I right in gathering that the man that was refused entry you could identify him as one of the shooters? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So he didn't want to be searched, and presumably it's because he had a gun on him?
I would assume.
Okay.
If I might add.
Yep.
From what I understand, now admittedly, I haven't had a chance to look at the video as well, but it is my understanding Slade is at the intersection of Tremont Street and Hammond Street. It's my understanding that one of the shooters came from Hammond Street, and the other shooter was walking, I guess, away from the establishment. He comes out, takes a right, and he's walking away. And the other shooter comes around the corner. I think they may have had words, but I don't know. And then the activity takes place. But I don't know which one died. One of them was injured and one of them died. And I don't know whether it was the one who came from around the corner or the one who refused entry.
I think Ms. Papil has already identified the deceased as the one who was refused entry, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, and what Attorney Dilday was kind of saying is my sense of what was happening. The deceased gets refused entry, he goes back out on the sidewalk, moves some distance away, but not very far, and confronts another person, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. How long between his refusal of entry to when shots start being fired?
I would assume the police, you know, like the detectives that have taken the footage would know these precise details.
Very quickly, or 10, 15 minutes?
Oh, no, I don't think it was. I think it was probably within 2 to 3 minutes, sir.
Okay.
You know, I shouldn't make a supposition, but my supposition is that the individual who was refused entry probably had some altercation with the individual who shot him.
Yeah.
And wanted to come in to get away. That's my supposition, but you know what I mean by that. I don't know, but that's the inference I would make.
Okay.
You do it?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I know, I don't think we can't probably get to the bottom of everything that happened, but I think our duty here is to find out what we can, if any, about the connection between this incident and your business. So that's why I'm asking these questions about who was refused entry and the second shooter, and did the second shooter ever get to the door? Was he refused entry at all or anything like that, or he had nothing to do with Slades at all that evening?
The second shooter fled the scene.
Yeah.
From my vantage point, like the you know, the police in my providing them the information and just talking to the detectives. I mean, I guess because it's an open investigation, you know, they have their issues with details, but they were very you know, informative with me just about the nature. Like, it just sounded like they understood these parties. They were aware that, you know, these gentlemen were, you know, well, in the city, and that you know, you can't quote me on this, but they just alluded to the fact that, you know, this would have happened somewhere or anywhere that at this time. So, you know, obviously at that moment, as management and the staff was very stressed and concerned about the safety and wanting to figure out ways to protect the business and ourselves. So, you know, the police at that time put my mind at ease that this was an isolated incident, and you know, that the, you know, it's been resolved. But did it have anything to do with Slades? No. And you know, these parties were, according to the police, looking for one another.
Yeah, with the limited information, I think that's kind of the sense I'm getting too. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
I just would like to confirm that we're really just talking about 2 people involved, not 3. I think at the beginning, I felt like there were 3.
Yeah, that part's also confusing.
He was, excuse me if I just add, that individual suffered the gunshot wound. He was out on the street. I will say, you know, obviously it's a homicide. It's hard to, you know, speak about it openly because I'm not in homicide, but the employees at Slades cooperated. The individuals did have a history that the individual was killed. He got out of his motor vehicle, he double parked, which is an issue in front of Slades a lot. And then he was confronted by a group. And then I haven't seen the video, but I believe that several people did leave Slades and beat that individual while he was on the street. So that, but if you're asking about the management of Slades, they did the best they could and they cooperated. but there was, definitely chaos there. And when we did arrive, prior to homicide, I was there. We had to secure the scene, and Slades assisted us in securing that scene. I will give, that's definitely, they were helpful in that, and they were helpful in us obtaining the video to which homicide is using. But right now, I don't believe will be available for you.
Thank you, Detective Hopkins. That is helpful. Any further questions from the board on this matter? With that, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you all. Calling
Thank
item
you.
number 2, 15 Beacon Street LLC, doing business as 15 Beacon Hotel, located at 15 Beacon Street. Date of the incident, January 21st, 2023, over intoxicated person on premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Amy Fitzsilver. I hold the license for the building, the property, hotel and restaurant.
Thank you for being with us. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Myself, sir. Officer Bowman.
Thank you, Officer Bowman. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective Carl, I'm here on behalf of the Boston Police.
Thank you, Detective. Is it possible to turn your camera on so we can swear you in?
Yep, I'm trying right now.
Great. Thank you. We can see you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I will.
Thank you. May please proceed.
About 3:06 p.m. on Saturday, January 21st, 2023, Officer Bowman in the Alpha 421 days responded to a radio call for an unconscious male at the Moo restaurant located at 15 Beacon Street, Boston. Upon arrival, Boston Fire Ladder 24, Dooley, Campbell, Dos Santos, Baisley, and Terrence were already on scene with the drunk male, later identified as Shane Sullivan. Sullivan was inside the restaurant's downstairs bathroom, sitting on the toilet with his pants around his ankles. The officer could smell the odor of liquor emanating from Sullivan's breath and observed a bottle of liquor next to Sullivan on the bathroom floor. Boston EMS A1, Murphy, and Ramos arrived on scene and removed Sullivan from the restaurant. EMS stated that they knew Sullivan and that they have dealt with him multiple times in very similar situations in the past. EMS notified the officer that they will be transporting Sullivan to Boston Medical Center for further medical evaluation. And the officer generated an incident number through operations and gave it to an employee at the restaurant per their request. And the officer informed them how they can obtain a copy of the police report.
Thank you. And Detective Dugal, you have a supplemental as well?
Yes, sir. About 6:45 p.m. on Monday, February 6, 2023, District 1 Detectives Dugal, T. McDonough, under the direct supervision of Sergeant Detective Salucci, conducted a Code 35 licensed premise inspection at 15 Beacon Street, Moo Restaurant in downtown Boston. This Code 35 was a result of a 911 call for an over-intoxicated person on the premise, January 21st of 2023. Restaurant manager Charles Hunter was on scene and accepted the written violation. License premise inspection notice number 23687, book number 949 in hand. That is all.
Thank you. Ms. Fitzsilver, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I would. This gentleman came in to use the bathroom. He was not a patron of the restaurant. He came in on that afternoon. We believe he brought in his own alcohol, the bottle that they found with him in the bathroom. We did a cleanliness check as we do the rounds of the bathroom, and we found him in our public restroom and called 911. We didn't serve any alcohol to him, and he was only there a short period of time before we called the police to have him removed. All the employees involved with the situation no longer work at the property, being this was over a year ago.
Thank you. We will see if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
So just confirming he was not a patron.
Correct.
Do you know how long he was in Moo?
He was never in the restaurant. He entered the main restaurant door in the afternoon at around 2:40 p.m., went downstairs to use the bathroom. One of our housemen went to do afternoon cleaning and found him, and then alerted the manager, Alexa DeMarco, and she called 911 at 2:45, and they showed up about 15 minutes later. And they said he was known to them as someone who frequents these public restrooms.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon?
Just for the record, no one who worked for you recognized this person, right?
Correct. No, he didn't look like he was a homeless person when he walked in. So no, we did not.
Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 3, Big Night Venues Boston 2 LLC, doing business as Empire, located at 1 Marina Park Drive. Date of the incident, February 16th, 2023. Alleged bouncer assault on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Green, Kristen Scanlon for the licensee. My sincerest apologies. We never received notice of this, and we were alerted to it this morning once the hearing began. If we could kindly request a continuance of this matter, I mean, happy to do it on the next hearing, just to have an opportunity to look it over and review our footage. It looks like the violation occurred over a year ago. For this alleged incident. And again, we apologize. We were just alerted to it, but wanted to get on nonetheless and request a continuance live.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, any response to the request for continuance?
I have no issue continuing it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our office will be in touch with a rescheduled date.
Thank you.
Calling item number 4, MYN Corp. doing business as Dublin Pub located at 7 to 9 Stoughton Street in Dorchester. Date of the incident, August 29th, 2023. Assault and battery with dangerous weapon, machete, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Assault and battery patron on patron, victim stabbed, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Failure to keep loiterers from in front of entrance and abutting, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Failure to notify police, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.14b. And failure to cooperate with police, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.10a and b. This is a continuation of a hearing first held on February 6th. With the specific purpose of considering the 2 additionally noticed violations of failure to notify police and failure to cooperate with police. Chairman Joyce, this being a continuation of a prior hearing, would you like the police reports read back into the record?
No, as a continuance, I just want to focus on the failure to notify police and the failure to cooperate with police.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, all. William Gardner representing the licensee. With me are the 2 managers who testified at the last hearing, the Mohammed brothers, as well as William Dunn, who's the head of the security firm that was on the licensed premises on the evening in question. He testified at the last hearing. The only additional person we have is one of the patrons who was there that night, Mr. Louis Escobar, who wasn't available on the last hearing, but he would only testify concerning the matters we discussed at the last hearing, as opposed to the cooperation issue. So it's up to the board's pleasure if they want to hear from him. Thank you.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Anna DePina.
Sergeant Detective Amy DeVito.
Sergeant Brian Carlson.
Thank you. Can all those who plan to testify, please raise your right hand? Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. As we are waiving the rereading of the police reports, Attorney Gardner, is there anything further you would like to testify to the board before we move to further questions regarding the additional violations that were noticed?
The only additional thing that and not to belabor the point, was Mr. Escobar would just confirm that he saw some commotion on the night in question, but did not see anybody stabbed, did not see any blood, and did not see any physical altercation between the two individuals who were the subject of our last hearing. The only other point I'd make is in the report, there is some reference to the fact that when the officers came into the establishment, the employees may have been somewhat disrespectful in the sense that they were playing with their phones. I think the report said that they didn't appear to be attentive. We've addressed that. If it was perceived as disrespectful, we apologize for that. But at the same time, the mindset of the managers and the people on site at the time was nothing had happened. Nothing significant had happened other than an argument between two individuals. So maybe they had a misconception as to the severity of what was being alleged. We apologize for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Gardner. We'll see if there are questions from the board at this time. Chairwoman Joyce.
Yes, my apologies. I'm just refreshing my mind from the last hearing and the testimony we heard that day. And you did say then and today that the employees on duty were not aware that there was a fight,
That there was
a stabbing.
Yes, there was an argument, a verbal altercation between two individuals who were asked to leave, and they escorted one out first and then waited 5 minutes and escorted the second guy out. And there was no physical altercation inside the premises whatsoever.
Okay, and then the people that are with you, we can't see them, but the people that are in the room with you today, were they there that evening?
Everybody in this room, there's 4 people. Mr. Dunn is the head of the security firm. He was actually involved. Mr. Sam Mohammed was the manager on duty. He got between the two individuals and asked them to leave when they were arguing. His brother Ali is a manager. He came at the end of the night to help close up. And Mr. Escobar is the new individual here who was a patron that evening.
So you're testifying that the two individuals were escorted from the premise together?
No, separately.
Separate, okay. And about the blood on the floor, what were your thoughts? Where did you think that came from?
Well, we didn't even know there was blood on the floor until the officer said something, because there was a spilled drink that someone was trying to mop up, but they said that they seen like little blood spots that might have been trying to be mopped up, but we didn't even know about those at the time.
That is Mr. Dunn, Madam Chairman. He's the head of the security firm who was on duty that night.
Okay. Sergeant Detective DeVito or Officer DePina?
Yes, ma'am. I believe Officer DePina is one of the officers that did respond that night, so she can testify to her observations of what she saw at the bar.
Thank you. Officer, what was your observation about the blood on the floor?
So when we first arrived, they had stated one of the managers wasn't there, so that we wasn't even allowed inside. We waited outside. Then it was brought to my attention that the manager, I guess, was there. He was in the basement, but on my body-worn camera, he wasn't on scene. It was his brother that was there. Once we was led inside, we started canvassing the area. Immediately, I noticed there was a mop and bucket. They had stated it was time to close. They were starting to clean out for the night. By the ATM and the exit door, that's when I noticed the blood on the floor. And as I got closer to examining, I yelled out, there's blood on the floor where you can actually see somebody's shoe print over there. So we taped it off. We informed the patrol supervisor who was on scene also. There's actually blood inside of the premises.
Okay.
Like,
was it a lot of blood or?
From my observation, you could clearly see it. There was blood, but you could also see where it looked like cleaning was being done to that particular area.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna let Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon jump in. I may have further questions.
This would be for the premises. Anyone there can explain why the Boston police would have been locked out for any period of time?
I don't, we didn't lock him out. Mr. Dunn is in charge of security at that location. He was at the location. What they had done was, this incident occurred, Mr. Curran, at the end of the evening. So when the two individuals, we testified last time, when the two individuals were asked to leave, it was about, I think it was like 20 minutes before closing time. So what they did do is they asked everybody to leave at that point in time. It was a Monday night into a Tuesday morning. So that they had everybody to leave, they flicked the lights on and shut and locked the door. Maybe that was the delay, I don't know. But as soon as the officers arrived and wanted to get back in, they were allowed in and met with all the employees who were still there.
Yeah, I have no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
None from me, thank you.
Chairman Joyce, any further questions?
No questions for me.
Ma'am, if I could for a minute, this is Sergeant Carlson.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I don't know if we were necessarily locked out. They had locked the doors when we initially arrived.
Okay.
The reason I didn't go right inside is because of everything we were dealing with outside, with the loitering people, the people, the fight, small skirmishes that were kind of breaking out. Initially, I was the only one on scene, so obviously I couldn't really be doing two things at once, dealing with outside as well as inside while my additional units came. And just to speak to what the lawyer said about, the disrespect, I don't think it was necessarily a disrespect, but I can tell you that even once I made them aware of the gravity of the situation, that somebody had been stabbed, that they were claiming it happened inside their establishment, that certainly didn't escalate or change their demeanor to them being more helpful. They knew that somebody had been stabbed. They knew that somebody was claiming that it happened inside their establishment, and their kind of lackadaisical, nonchalant attitude about what was going on and the gravity of that situation certainly didn't escalate once they were made aware. The head of security was still playing on his phone while we were trying to talk to him. He was playing a game. I could see it playing on his phone, and then there was the back and forth about who the manager was on scene when the event initially happened. And so I didn't perceive it as disrespect. I just perceived it as a nonchalant attitude, and they certainly knew what the gravity of the situation was that we were there for. And that nonchalant attitude continued.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board?
No questions.
Okay, with that, the board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 5, Paga Inc. doing business as Icon, located at 100B Warrenton Street, dated the incident May 6th, 2023. Assault and battery, bouncer on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Mark Elfiades, representing Paga Inc. Today I have with me Kevin Montgomery, head of security, Bill Robinson, who is the manager of record on the license. And that being said, those would be my witnesses for today.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Giblin.
Sergeant Baggis.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
One issue, apparently Kevin Montgomery is having difficulty getting his camera working, although
we can see Mr. Montgomery.
Oh, you can. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I will, sir.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
About 0207 hours on Saturday, May 6th, 2023, Officer Giblin, assigned to the Alpha 436 Alpha, responded to a radio call for an assault and battery at Venue Nightclub, 100 Warrenton Street, Boston. Also responding was the Alpha 202 and the Alpha 437. Operations informed the responding officers that a male caller reported that he was assaulted by security at the above location and was bleeding from the head. Upon arrival, Officer Giblin observed a white Hispanic male standing at the corner of Stewart Street and Warrenton Street with blood on his face. Officer Giblin approached the male asking him what had happened. The victim stated that he was assaulted by security outside of Icon nightclub for no apparent reason and that he had lost his cell phone during the assault. He repeatedly stated that he did not know why security assaulted him. EMS was requested for the victim. The victim identified himself as Dylan Escobar. He again reiterated that the incident occurred outside of Icon. Officer Giblin was approached by a security guard identified as Kevin Montgomery. He stated that one of his coworkers was involved in the altercation with the victim. He stated that the victim was being aggressive towards a female staff member of the nightclub and was asked to leave, which Mr. Montgomery stated that he refused. After refusing to leave, Mr. Montgomery stated that the victim resisted attempts by security to escort him out of the nightclub, which led to the physical altercation occurring. Mr. Montgomery stated that during the altercation, the victim swung a fist at his coworker, and the coworker swung back, striking the victim in the forehead. Mr. Montgomery described this as a reaction towards the victim's initial attempted battery. Officer Giblin asked Mr. Montgomery to identify the coworker. Officer Giblin then spoke with Clyde Henry. He stated that while attempting to escort the victim out of the nightclub, the victim began to struggle with staff members by holding onto a railing. He stated that when staff finally removed the victim from inside of the club, the victim fell on the sidewalk, striking his head, which caused his injury. Mr. Henry was bleeding from the left hand, but declined to be seen by EMS. Boston EMS Ambulance 1 Alpha 06 arrived and provided initial medical attention for the victim. While inside of the victim stated to EMS that he was unsure if he was struck in the head or was thrown on the ground by security. He was transported to Tufts Medical Center for further medical treatment. The Alpha 914 Sergeant Baggus arrived, completed license premise inspection for venue nightclub number 004456. That's all.
Thank you very much. Attorney Avliades, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, just first, Officer Giblin. Officer Giblin, on the night in question, did the staff and management cooperate with you?
Sir, to the best of my recollection, I believe they did. Otherwise, I would have detailed it in my report otherwise.
And is it correct to state that you weren't actually either in the nightclub when this incident happened or outside of the nightclub when this incident happened?
I did not
witness the actual event.
I did not witness the actual event, sir.
Okay. I have no further questions for the officer. If I could call Kevin Montgomery as my first witness. And Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Kevin, can you state your name for the record?
Kevin Montgomery.
How long have you been working at security?
Like 17, had a security about 3 years, been employed about 17 years.
You've been employed by Paga Inc. for 17 years.
Yes.
Okay. And were you working on the night in question?
Yes, I was.
It was a Friday night leading into a Saturday morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us what happened on the night in question, specifically regarding an interview with you and internal investigations? Apparently there was a female staff member that reported to security that Mr. Escobar, the quote unquote victim here, was inappropriately groping her. And she called security in because of this incident.
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. Once one of our bottle service employees complained about getting touched inappropriately. In this case, he was touching on the buttocks in places that she didn't want to be touched. He was being overly aggressive. And detailed security, the security will automatically just gonna ask him to leave.
On the night in question, how many security personnel did you have working that evening?
15.
15. And did you respond to the issue raised by the female waitress?
Excuse me?
Did you respond to the issue raised by the female waitress?
I would say probably like 3 guys responded at that point.
And what happened?
Just asking to leave. Hey guys, this you know, it's time to go anyhow, so you have to leave. Why do I have to leave? Even expansion with the situation is, come on, you got to go. No, I didn't do anything like that. Yes, you have to leave. And we try to talk back and forth to him. Come on, you got to leave. But after a certain amount of time, we're gonna ask him, so we just asked him to escort him outside.
Okay. And during him being escorted outside, did an incident happen where he took a aggressive posture or tried to strike one of the security personnel?
Yes, it's odd because he gets all the way to the top of the steps, and then all of a sudden like just kicks in like, oh, I'm not gonna go outside. So that's when he's becoming, more agitated and more aggressive, to the point where he's like, okay, let's go aside. He puts his hands on the railing, and we're like, no, you gotta go. At this point, he just starts to flailing, and he starts to swing at one of my guys, and guy reacts, but that was it. And then as he got outside, we finally got him onto the front door, and we basically just let him go. At that point, that's when he just kind of fell for whatever reason. He had tripped over with his own momentum, but he tripped and just hit his head on the sidewalk. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. So did at any point in time, did the police department request video on this particular incident?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for your other witness?
At this point, no, I don't.
Thank you. Then we will.
If I might just summarize, the issue question is, it was a Friday night going into Saturday morning. The incident happened probably about 15 minutes before we closed. The lights were already coming up. The bills were being presented. People were paying and leaving. Security staff, in interviewing them, suggested that it would be the best thing to get this particular individual outside as quickly as possible. He refused to go. The female staff member did exactly what she's supposed to do. She didn't take matters into her own hands. She got the security involved. Target Inc. has a zero tolerance policy for any type of sexual harassment to any of its employees. So that's why they asked them to leave. Considering all the circumstances that happened, I believe that the security of Paga did what they should have done and escorted the person out. It was the quote unquote victim that started acting aggressively towards the security staff, and they escorted him out. Mr. Clyde Henry, because this has happened so long ago, no longer works for the particular organization. He's moved on. So I would have had him here to testify, but he no longer works for the organization. With that, I respectfully request that no violation be found.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions from the board. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thanks. I have no questions.
You, Commissioner Carn.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Saxon.
Just to confirm, there's no video?
There is no video at this time, no.
No questions.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 6, K&K Restaurant Group, Inc., doing business as Estella, located at 49 Temple Place. Date of the incident, October 23rd, 2023. Patrons drinking on public sidewalk in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and uncooperative with police in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.10A and B. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is anybody on with us on behalf of Estella? We will take a second call and attempt to reach the manager of record. Calling item number 7, Massimino's Cucina Italiana, Inc., doing business as Massimino's, located at 205 to 207 Endicott Street. Date of the incident, October 2nd, 2023. Assault and battery, indecent, employee on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 22. Failure to call 911 after incident in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.14B. And blocked fire exit in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.06A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Thank you, Secretary Green. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Attorney Ryan Gosda on behalf of the licensee. With me this morning is Paul Demori, who is the owner and manager for the restaurant, and also joining us as we speak as well is Debbie Luisi, who is the manager on duty at the time of the incident.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher can read the report of the record if Officer Jimenez is not on today.
Thank you, Sergeant Detective Gallagher. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? And Attorney Gauss, I do not see Miss Louisi on my screen. I don't know if
I had
she's
just texted her. I know she was planning to join. I texted her when the previous item was up, but I let her know that they didn't show up, so she should be joining very shortly.
great. And,
Chairman Green.
Am I in?
see,
I think I'm
Detective
in.
Lewis.
oh, yeah, we see you. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Lieutenant Troy, what was that?
Detective Lewis from Sexual Assault Unit is here also. I just think she's on mute.
Oh, great. Thank you. I do see her. Thank you. So Sergeant Detective Gallagher, Detective Lewis, I do see Miss Louisi. Are there any other additional individuals who would like to testify on this matter who have firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident? Okay, can all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Well, good morning.
Great. Thank you very much. Detective Lewis, will you be reading the police report into the record? Oh, we cannot hear you. Hang on.
Sergeant Gallagher, the initial report.
Yeah, I can read the initial one.
Thank you.
Good morning. At about 8:15 p.m. on Sunday, 9/10/23, Officer Jimenez took a walk-in sexual assault report at the front desk of Boston Police Station District A7 at 300 East Eagle Street, East Boston. Officer Jimenez and Sergeant Coughlin, the Gold 905, were met by the victim, who stated that she was assaulted at her workplace at Massimino's, located at 207 Endicott Street in the North End. Victim stated that while she was helping to put away some chairs, her co-worker, the suspect, inappropriately touched her. The victim stated that she was stacking some chairs when she needed help, and the suspect volunteered to help. Once the chairs were put away, the suspect continued to hug the victim. The victim actively tried to push away. The suspect was unable to, since the suspect trapped her with both arms so she could not leave. The victim started to crouch down to escape his grip when the suspect grabbed her left breast with his right hand. The victim yelled for the suspect to stop, to which the suspect asked why she was scared. Victim stated the suspect has always behaved in a flirtatious manner with her and others in the workplace. The victim stated that the suspect usually keeps her distance, but today became physical. The victim stated to be afraid. The sexual assault unit was notified. Sergeant Coughlin informed Detective Janet Lewis. The victim at 8:42. I do have a supplemental that was authored by Detective Lewis. Suspect was arraigned in Boston Municipal Court, docket number 230-1CR003303A for indecent assault and battery, and he was arrested. The second report, well, actually the third report is my report, and it's mine with Detective Hernandez. Let's turn to that for a second. On Monday, October 2nd, 2023, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD licensed premise unit, responded to Massimino's restaurant. Detectives went there to speak to staff regarding an indecent assault and battery, employee on employee incident that occurred back on September 10th, 2023. The last form that of 3242. Detectives have been informed by the BPD sexual assault unit that a walk-in report had been taken at the station after the incident had occurred. Detectives were able to speak to the owner of the restaurant via phone, who confirmed that he was aware of the incident. While inside the establishment, detectives noticed that the recorded music playing by means of exterior speakers. Detectives noticed the establishment's entertainment license. I'll skip that. We're not here for that today. Detectives walked to the restaurant to make sure that the fire exits were unblocked. Detectives observed the basement fire exit was blocked by tables, multiple stacked chairs. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Mario Mija, who stated that he would immediately correct the situation. As a result, the detectives had observed Sergeant Gallagher issue a license premise inspection notice number 040275 for indecent assault and battery, employee on employee, failure to call 911 after an incident, premise providing outdoor entertainment, and a blocked fire exit. Mr. Mihas signed for and accepted the notice. We do have, I believe there's a picture in the back there of the blocked fire exit, which is not attached to the report. This is it right here. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there additional reports that will be read into the record today? I believe there's one more.
I think, let me see. I think that's all I have, sir. I just have that the suspect was placed under arrest, and that's Detective Lewis's report. If you'd like her to read that into the record, it's a one-liner.
Thank you.
There's an additional supplement number one from that Detective Lewis wrote.
Thank you. Lieutenant Troy, have you been sworn in yet this morning?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, if you could please raise your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I don't.
Thank you.
It reads as follows. On September 10, 2023, Officer Jimenez was working at the front desk of Area A7, took a walk-in report for an indecent assault and battery. The victim stated that while at her place of employment, Massiminos, at 207 Endicott Street earlier in the day, she was assaulted by a co-worker, Mario Mija. Victim stated that the suspect came down to the basement area to assist her putting away some extra chairs, and he was very short and he was unable to stack them. I'm sorry, she is very short and unable to stack them. Victim stated that upon completion, the suspect hugged her and he attempted to push him away. The victim stated that Mihab then trapped her by placing his hands on the wall on either side of her, pinning her against the wall. The victim stated she ducked down in order to escape the suspect's arms, and he reached down and grabbed her breast. As part of the investigation, Detective Lewis conducted interviews with the victim, the complainant, witness, and the manager on duty, the restaurant owner, and the suspect. As a result of these interviews, it has been determined by coordination with the district attorney's office that there is probable cause to believe that the crime of indecent assault and battery, age over 14 and over, did occur. The individual who committed this crime is Mr. Miha of 207 Endicott Street, Apartment 2. Complaints to be sought in Boston Municipal Court. That's the extent of the report.
Thank you very much. Attorney Gazda, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, just a few brief questions for Sergeant Gallagher.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Were the licensee's staff cooperative with the police when they were both contacted concerning the incident, as well as when you all went to the premise on October 2nd?
Yes, sir, they were.
And is it fair to say that they were prompt in terms of returning phone calls to the BPD when they were contacted concerning the incident?
I can only speak for my interactions with them, but yes, they were.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have for the sergeant. I do have some questions for Mr. Diamore, if he is on with us.
I am ready up.
Good morning. Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Paul Demori. I'm the owner chef of Massimino's Cucina Italiana at 207 Endicott Street in the north end of Boston since 1989.
And you have personal knowledge of the facts concerning this incident, correct?
I do.
Now, you were on the way to the restaurant in the morning of September 10th when you were contacted by Debbie concerning this incident, correct?
Yes, it was.
And what information did she relate to you at that time?
Debbie had called me and said there was a situation with Mario and Jennifer, and I asked what happened, and Debbie had told me that Jennifer had told Debbie that she had, got grabbed from behind while she was putting away chairs. And I asked, Debbie, is Jennifer okay? She goes, she was shooken up. She tells me that she's going to take it to someone's house, which is right down the street. I said, okay, just, make sure she's okay. And I'm on the way in, which I was about 15 minutes away. I got in and I basically, went over the, wanted to see what happened. I talked to Mario. I called Jennifer right away. She answered the phone. I asked her if she was okay. And she goes, I'm okay. I'm a little shaken up. I said, is there anything I can do for you? What do you want me to do? Let me know. I'll do it. Because I've known Jennifer for a while. She's very nice. She goes, no, I just need some time. I go, okay, let me know. Just tell me what you want to do. If you want to come back, you want to, whatever it is, just let me know. And kind of that's how the day started.
So you arrived at the restaurant, I believe, shortly after 11:30 in the morning?
Correct.
And this occurred sometime 11:15 when Debbie called you somewhere in that ballpark?
Yes. Yeah, because our staff gets there at 10. So, we set up about, between 10 and 11.
Right. And I know you had just mentioned when you got there, you did call Jenny And she reported, you asked her, you know, what you all could do for her. And she reported that she needed time to think about what she wanted to do, correct?
Correct.
And Debbie, of her own volition, helped walk Jenny to a friend or another waitress's apartment down the street. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And subsequent to that first conversation that you had with Jenny that day, you called her again later that week, correct?
I actually called her later that day, probably a couple hours later, just again checking in, making sure she's okay. And I was just, wanted to kind of know, just let me know what you want me to do, what's your plan, just, keep me in the loop. And she said to me, give me a couple days. I said, that's fine. We can talk on Wednesday. So we communicated again on Wednesday, asked how she was doing. She said to me, she sounded good. She said, I'm okay. And I said, just let me know, how you want to proceed. Do you need me to do anything? Do you want to come back to work? What can I do for you to create a great, whatever it needs to happen? And she said, I'll get back to you. And that's the last time I heard from her, which was on that Wednesday.
And she hasn't returned to work, is that
She has
correct?
not, correct. She has not returned to work.
And at any point in time, did she inform you all that she had or planned to file a police report?
No, never.
Now, do you all have any cameras in the back or the basement area where this was alleged to have occurred?
So I have 12 cameras on my premise and I cover everything except, where that incident occurred is basically a little stairwell with, about 5 or 6 steps. And that's the only place I don't have a camera because just a very small area. But otherwise, my place has full surveillance, including, liquor room and backyard in front of the restaurant.
And when you got to the restaurant, I know that Jenny was no longer there at that point in time, but you did speak with other employees who were on site?
Yes.
And did any of them witness anything?
No.
And I know Debbie is on with us as well, but to your knowledge, did Debbie witness anything in terms of this?
My knowledge, no, she did not.
And you did speak with Mario, the individual who was
I did.
accused of the inappropriate touching. And what did he have to say to you concerning the allegations?
He said that he didn't grab her and that they were putting away the chairs and he bumped into her from behind. That's exactly what he told me.
And as was read into the record, you later became aware that he received a criminal summons concerning this.
Correct.
Is it fair to say that you're waiting for the criminal process to, come to a conclusion before you're making any determination as to an employment action against him?
100% because, it's, yep. I'm not getting involved. I'm just letting the courts handle it.
And how long has he worked for you, Mario?
Mario's been with me for almost 32 years.
And had you ever received any complaints or rumors or anything of this nature concerning?
Never any complaints, just the typical restaurant stuff, bickering, but outside of that, no.
Okay. Following all of this having occurred, did you implement any new procedures at the restaurant?
I did. It took me a little while to kind of figure out what to do because I really wasn't sure. So I had reached out to some people in kind of corporate America, and they recommended I do some kind of like sensitivity training. So I looked in to see what would make sense that's effective for my small operation because it's mostly family, my place. And I found a company, and we've implemented it with which is good. It's in many languages, and basically what happens, they basically sit in front of a computer and they basically read this, and to go to the next page, they have to click it, and then once this happens, they get a certificate, and then we know that it's been done. So anybody that's new, anybody that's that we just let them do this here. So that's what we're doing.
I know not really the subject of the hearing this morning, but to the extent that it was in one of the original police reports with respect to the outdoor speaker on the patio, is it fair to say that you at that time were unaware that you needed separate approval for that?
Yes.
And
And I installed that for during COVID.
And that's since been turned off.
Yes.
Lastly, can you provide an explanation as to the location of the tables and chairs that were in the restaurant when the officers came on the night of October 2nd?
Yeah, so typically, end of the night stuff does get moved around. And, I'm assuming that we were cleaning end of the night, moving stuff around, and that's probably why it ends up there. So what I do typically every day when I walk in, first thing I do is I walk throughout the whole restaurant, make sure all my entrances, clear, make sure my yard is clear. I've been doing this for a long time, make sure everything's clean, the way it's supposed to be. And At the end of the night, the same thing. That was approaching the end of the night. We had no customers in the restaurant, was empty. It was a Monday night. But no excuse that should not have been blocked either way.
But it's fair to say that those are not typically there and they were
No,
moved there in
definitely not
the,
typical.
while
Very-
cleaning.
I'm very careful of Massiminos. I just, it's my family, it's my livelihood.
I have no further questions for Paul. At this time, I don't have any questions for Debbie as well, but as I mentioned, she is available to the extent that the board has any questions for her. In closing, I would just state that the licensee certainly apologizes for this series of events. Massiminos is a small family business that's been in operation in the North End for over 35 years, and they've never had a history of violations, let alone anything of this nature having occurred there. When Paul arrived at the restaurant at the time that this was unfolding, Jenny was no longer there at the property. They were more concerned in terms of making her comfortable at the time and respecting her privacy. That was really the reason that no police were called at that time. And I'd also state that the licensee did attend the board's training session for North End license holders shortly after this did occur. So they've since informed all managers and staff that to the extent that anything that's a possible criminal allegation, they will call the police ASAP. So in hindsight, if this were to occur again, without respect to privacy considerations, they will be calling the police.
Right.
As mentioned, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions from the board at this time. Chairwoman Joyce?
Yes, so when you arrived at the licensed premise, you said you got there about 15 minutes later and you called this woman.
Yes.
What did she say to you happened?
She didn't tell me what happened.
Did she describe how she was feeling?
She goes, basically said, I didn't feel comfortable coming back. And I said, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm not really concerned about you coming back. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long had she worked for you?
Jenny's been with me for 5 or 6 years, on and off. She took a little break. She's a nurse, went to nursing school, came back part-time.
Okay, so you have an employee who's worked for you for a number of years who you called and said she's not comfortable coming back to the restaurant, and then you went and talked to the alleged suspect, Mario.
Right.
And you got his side of the story. So explain to me what your thoughts were when one employee is afraid to come back into your licensed premise and another employee is saying nothing happened.
I'm upset. I mean, because I really don't want the turmoil. I want everybody to get along, and I want my operation to operate properly.
Okay, putting aside not calling the police, you let him continue working that day. What did you do?
Yes, I did.
You were concerned that no concerns on your part about him?
I mean, I was there. I mean, I'm present, so it's like it's not like I'm not there. I'm in the kitchen, I'm present. So it's, I watch my place.
And so can you describe for me what your conversations were with this person on that day and maybe subsequent conversations about his behavior?
Well, I mean, I basically said no, under no one can touch anybody, no one can be close to anybody. You have to respect everybody. I mean, that's kind of the basic conversation. And then once it got in the hands of, the law,
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
sorry. Once it got in the hands of the law, then I just didn't get involved, because I didn't want to, I just wanted the law to handle it.
Okay, so once the legal process started, what did you do with this employee?
He's still working for me.
Okay. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I mean, what is your opinion as to the investigating officer's finding of probable cause? I mean, that means that the investigating officer found there was more likely than not that a crime had occurred. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay, so what standard of proof were you waiting for to take action against the suspect?
I mean,
do you need beyond reasonable doubt?
I mean, if he's not, I mean, if he's not guilty, right? I mean,
to a criminal standard, right?
I guess, he's got a little baby, he's got a family.
Okay, so in your mind, what is the likelihood that something occurred here that was criminal?
Excuse me, I don't understand that.
Your mind, you've looked into this, right?
Right.
What is your determination as to the likelihood that a crime occurred here?
I mean, I don't know. She's saying she did it. He's saying he didn't.
Okay, so how do you feel about that?
It's confusing. It's very confusing.
Okay, and so with that uncertainty in your mind, you feel comfortable continuing to employ this person?
I'm employing him, so the answer is yes, I guess.
Okay, and with that uncertainty, you didn't think it was appropriate to get the authorities involved at the time? You thought that you were going to continue to handle it with that uncertainty?
Oh, that's a mistake. I mean, I should have called the police right away. And
Okay.
I attended the that thing you had for all the licenses, and that this happened afterwards. And if I knew, see, it's, you know what it is, I've been there 35 years and really nothing's ever happened. So I've never had to call the police. So I've never had a situation. Honestly, I just never have.
Yeah, it just seems to me that, you know, even at the time, you're saying that you kind of didn't know what to do, right?
Right.
But then,
well, I
calling the proper people that would know what to do.
Yes, and you're right. That's what I should have did. And that's why now I've instructed my family and my staff that any situations at all, doesn't make it, we can't judge it, just call the police and keep it that way, because that's the way to do it.
So I just want to say, as far as way of comment, you as an employer, I think you're making a serious mistake here, holding it to the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt here. You know, that's not the standard you're held to. That's not the standard I would apply if I were in your shoes. So that's all I have to say there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, just to follow up on what Commissioner Liam was saying. I mean, I think, you know, the safety of all of your employees is paramount. And, you know, you have an account that is pretty serious, and, and I think that, you know, it's your duty to make sure that all of your employees are safe. And so it sounds like you're protecting one person at the sacrifice of another. And yeah, I think you should definitely think about your values and making sure that your employees are safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 8, Remington Boston Employers LLC, doing business as Hilton Boston Back Bay, located at 40 Dalton Street, date of the incident December 21st, 2023. Armed robbery with a knife on premise in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64. Change of manager without notifying the licensing board in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
I am Doug Koenig, General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Lieutenant Detective Troy.
Dr. Hernandez.
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
And Green, I saw Officer Mathers online, and I saw I dialed in, and Officer Murphy also.
Officer Mallers. Thank you, Officer Mallers. Yes, I do see you. I believe you were just on mute. Oh, and there's Officer Murphy as well.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
No worries. Thank you for joining us. I will ask again, are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify beyond those who have just identified themselves? Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? You all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the initial report into the record?
Lieutenant Detective Troy, if I could.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
Reading from a report authored by Officer Malice. It reads as follows: at about 7:19 on Thursday, December 21st, 2023, Officer Malice and Waddy Niles responded to a radio call for a person with a knife at 40 Dalton Street, Boston, the Hilton Hotel. En route, the dispatcher informed the officers that the victim was threatened with a knife on the 26th floor of the hotel. On arrival, officers spoke with an individual who was both the victim and the suspect in this matter. This individual stated between 12 and 1 p.m. on Thursday, December 21st, 2023, he met an unknown Hispanic male in Fields Corner train station who informed him about a website where he could obtain sex for fee services. The victim/suspect stated the male then offered him an alcoholic beverage, which he drank. The individual stated that the unknown male was a Hispanic male, about 5'8", medium build with a dark jacket. The victim/suspect stated that he contacted a girl named Kim on the website and began talking and texting her with her. During an hour-long conversation, they arranged for a place to meet as well as an amount of money in which she would have sex with him. The victim/suspect stated he went to the 23rd floor of the Boston Hilton Hotel in order to meet Kim and have sex with her. The victim/suspect stated that the agreed fee for having sex with her was $120 in US currency. He stated that he was in front of a room on the 23rd floor when he heard a female call him to a different room. And that suspect was later identified as a Miss Simpson, and she was standing at the doorway. And upon entering the doorway, the victim/suspect stated that Simpson displayed a knife and threatened him by saying, "Give me $200 or I'll stab you." Victim suspect stated that he was scared, so he handed Simpson the $200. And after this, he reported the incident to the hotel front lobby. The victim/suspect stated that the lights in the room were off. While speaking with the suspect, Ms. Simpson, he also stated that although he could not see in the room, he believed he heard two male voices speaking to the actual suspect. Officer Waddy Niles informed the dispatcher that the incident was an armed robbery and 3 suspects may be involved. Various officers from District 4 responded to assist. Sergeant Aziz notified the Human Trafficking Unit about the incident, and Sergeant Sullivan from the Human Trafficking Unit responded to the scene. Sergeant Aziz instructed officers to head to the 23rd floor and stand by the room and ensure no one left. Sergeant Aziz also instructed Officer Mallers and various officers to stand by with the victim/suspect. Officers on the 23rd floor notified that contact was made with somebody exiting the room and all parties were detained. Sergeant Aziz informed the victim/suspect that officers were conducting an identification procedure. Officer Waddy Niles and Mallers' cameras were on as Sergeant Aziz read word for word the department provided show of identification procedures witness preparation card. Once the card was read, the victim/suspect was informed that he would be brought to the 23rd floor and to exit the elevator and stay on the left. Officers exited the elevator and observed 3 individuals in plain clothes. It should be noted that none of these individuals were in plain clothes had any markings on them identifying them as police officers. Female party was detained, had her hands behind her back, which prevented the handcuffs from being visible to anybody. After a few seconds, Sergeant Aziz asked the victim/suspect if he observed anyone that looked familiar. He responded, "She is there. She's the one that took the $200 from me in the room," referring to Miss Simpson. Officers escorted the victim/suspect back downstairs to the lobby where he was released shortly thereafter. The victim/suspect is charged complaints were sought against him for sexual conduct for a fee. There's a supplemental report that details the officer's actions on the 23rd floor. If you'd like me to read that also. And this one is written by Officer Murphy, Colonel Murphy, and it reads as follows. About 7:22 on Thursday, December 21st, 2023, Officer Murphy and Richard in the Delta K1 responded to 40 Dalton Street with additional D4 officers for a radio call for a person with a knife. As officers arrived on scene, they were met by the victim/suspect, who stated that he was robbed by a male at knife point room on the 23rd floor inside the Hilton Hotel at 40 Dalton Street. Sergeant Aziz directed Officer Richard and Officer Murphy to the 23rd floor in order to maintain surveillance on the room in question due to statements made by the victim that he was robbed at knife point by an individual in that room. Officers were advised by hotel staff that the room was being rented by a Mr. Simpson. Officers proceeded to 23rd floor and were able to visually observe the door of the hotel room and observe the door to be shut. Officers instructed to conduct a field interrogation observation of anybody leaving the room. Officers from District 4 responded to 23rd floor to assist the officers. After several minutes, officers observed the light-skinned Hispanic male exit the hotel room wearing a hat, a black Armani hooded sweatshirt, a fanny pack jeans, and white sneakers. This individual saw the officers and immediately took a left turn down a separate hallway that leads away from the particular room. The officers approached the individual from the other side of the hallway and began speaking with the male and asked the male which room he had exited from. Officer Murphy notified the sergeant of the male that they had stopped on the 23rd floor. As officers were speaking to the suspect, who was later identified as Mr. Santana, officers observed suspect number 1 began to blade a stance away from the officers. Officers observed suspect number 2 began, suspect number 1, Mr. Santana, began profusely sweat after he asked if he had any weapons on him. It should be noted officers were in a tight wallway, provided no cover or concealment for officers. Due to the suspect's actions, the possibility of the suspect being involved in an armed robbery with a knife in the extremely tight hallway where the interaction was taking place, Officer Murphy began to pat frisk the suspect for weapons. Officer Murphy's first pat frisk, suspect number 1's left front pocket due to the suspect blading his body in that direction, creating a stance to his left with his left leg to the rear. Officer Murphy was aware that there's an ongoing trend that individuals illegally possessing firearms commonly store their illegal firearms in cross-body or fanny pack style bags. Officer Murphy had made numerous firearm and drug-related arrests that individuals have illegally possessed a firearm or fanny packs. Officer Murphy then frisked the exterior of the Louis Vuitton fanny pack worn by suspect number 1. Officer Murphy felt a hard metallic object that he believed from his training experience to be a firearm. Officer Murphy notified all officers on scene of the presence of a firearm and removed the fanny pack from suspect number 1. Officer Murphy then unzipped the fanny pack and confirmed that it was a firearm inside the fanny pack. Suspect number 1 was placed in handcuffs, and officers demanded to see his license to carry, which he said he did not. I do not have one. Officer Keenan then read his Miranda rights from a department issued. CJIS inquiry of the suspect revealed that he did not have an active license to carry a firearm. This inquiry revealed that the suspect did have an active warrant at a Lawrence District Court. Sergeant Detective Carl and Detective Fencer responded to the scene and recovered the firearm. The firearm was determined to be a Glock 43X 9mm. It was loaded with 8 rounds of ammunition. Sergeant Aziz, Sergeant Detective Sullivan responded to the 23rd floor in order to conduct protective sweep of the room in question. Officers were met by the door by suspect number 2, Ms. Simpson, who stated that she was the only person in the room along with her dog. Officers conducted a protective sweep of the hotel room. Officers brought the victim / suspect back to the 23rd floor, and after reading Boston Police witness identification card, officers were notified by the victim / suspect that suspect number 2 was the one who would rob them of $200. The total amount seized from suspect number 1's fanny pack was $9,580. Total amount seized from suspect number 1's person, not only the fanny pack, was $12,363. Sergeant Detective Sullivan from the spoke with suspect number 2, Ms. Santana, Ms. Simpson, in regards to possibility being the victim of human trafficking. She stated that she was not being trafficked. She stated that she sells herself for sex for a living and that she moves from state to state. Ms. Simpson stated that she had been in Boston for the last 2 days and made a total of 4 to 5 dates. Ms. Simpson stated that she posted numerous ads on various websites looking for dates in and around the Boston area to come visit her at the Hilton Hotel. Ms. Simpson stated that the victim tried to rape her and that she stated that she was going to call the police because he was unhappy with their services. Sergeant Sullivan offered the suspect, suspect number 2, Ms. Simpson, services, which she declined. She stated that the suspect number 1 was also on a date, that's Mr. Santana, and had paid her $300 for sexual acts. Suspect number 2, Ms. Simpson, stated that Mr. Santana showed her a large amount of money inside his satchel. Officers were contacted Lawrence Police Department, where Mr. Santana was a suspect in an armed robbery by firearm that occurred previously on the previous week at a jewelry store within their jurisdiction. Mr. Santana was charged with carrying a firearm without a license, ammunition without a license, various other firearm charges. Ms. Simpson was charged with armed robbery. Money was logged into District 4 property. District Attorney, Chief District Attorney and the ADA, Caitlin Fitzgerald, were also notified. That's the extent of the police reports.
Thank you, Lieutenant Troy. I believe the only thing we are missing is the license premise inspection notice, which was Detective Hernandez's report.
Yep, I'll be reading that right now. I wrote on Wednesday, December 27, 2023, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the License Premise Unit, responded to the Hilton Hotel on 40 Dalton Street. Detectives later speak to staff on an armed robbery incident that occurred on Thursday, December 21st, 2023. See report 232-103-983. Detective spoke to manager Paul Weisner, who confirmed that he was aware of the incident. And then also, while reviewing the restaurant's licenses and permits, detectives inquired whether the manager's name listed on the common victual license and to City of Boston Entertainment was still correct. Mr. Weiser stated that the individual no longer listed on the license, Dominic Marty, no longer worked for the hotel. As a result of what detectives discovered, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 017869 for armed robbery on premise and for failure to notify the licensing board of the managerial change on the common victual license and the entertainment license. Mr. Weiser signed for an accepted notice. So.
Thank you. Mr. Koenig, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, so one, as far as the license go, Dominic Marty is my boss. He used to be the general manager of this hotel for 7 years. So he still has oversight of this property. I report directly to him. He's in a managing director capacity. Paul Weisner was new to the hotel. He only had been here 2 weeks, so he had no idea who Dominic was. So when he was asked, Dominic on the license, he didn't know who Dominic was. So that's why he said, Doug is the general manager of the hotel. We are in the process of changing that license. The hotel's going through a sale. And with that sale, the license is being changed over because the new ownership wants a license to be under my name versus Dominic. So that's in process right now. As far as the incident that occurred in the hotel, I am aware of it. I was notified the following morning of what had transpired. To share with you that Hilton is very stringent when it comes to their training and the protocols that happen inside of the hotel. Albeit we're a franchised hotel, we still have to follow the Hilton required standards and training guidelines that they have out. Human trafficking training is conducted twice a year inside of the hotel. We have a classroom program as well as we do online, which goes to all of the employees inside of the hotel. So the incident, unfortunately, this person that came into the hotel was not a registered guest in the hotel that had gone up to that room. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to identify if that person potentially is going up to seek services up in a room, if it's a friend, if it's a family member. But, we could have 8,000 to 10,000 people coming through this hotel at any given time in any given month. But we are aware, and the staff is aware when it comes to human trafficking and what to look for and seeing repeat customers going up to the same room. So again, it was unfortunate, but I think the staff that was on duty did what they needed to do, and that was contact the police as soon as they were notified of alleged incident.
Thank you. With that, we will see if there are any questions from the board. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
Yes. So how were you notified? By the victim? I thought the victim called the police.
No, the victim came down to notify the front desk.
Okay, and so can you walk me through your security measures? Who can go up to the floors and who can't? What your processes are?
Yeah, so guests, we're open. I mean, anybody can come into the hotel that can go up to the restaurant, can use the guest room facilities as long as they have a key to access a room or they know somebody that they're going to visit inside of a room. This gentleman that came in to looking for services knew the room number, knew the person who was in the room because they shared that with him, and that's how he was able to go into the elevator and go directly up to his room. So that is permitted.
Okay, do you have officers roaming the halls to make sure that you just don't have members of the public wandering the hallways? How do you ensure the
Yeah, I mean,
safety of people?
yeah, we have one security officer on per shift that walks the building. To share with you, if you don't know the hotel, it's a very compact triangle-shaped hotel. So the hallway revolves around each of the elevators. So it's not a hotel that's got 750,000 square feet of space. It's a very compact, very small lobby, very small footprint in the hotel. But they do walk the floors as part of their shift.
Okay, the question for the police, maybe it's Officer Murphy, was the hotel management cooperative?
Yes, absolutely. When we arrived on scene, they gave us everything we needed. Anything Sergeant Aziz asked, they provided immediately.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
Regarding this human trafficking training, just broad strokes, what does it entail? What are you looking out for? What are you teaching your staff to be on the lookout for?
To look for one, we stopped providing, well, I should start at the beginning. Cash used to be one of the first signs. We see somebody coming in with cash or a couple of kids or a couple of women coming into the hotel and you're carrying a stack of $100 bills. So we stopped taking cash inside of the hotel where everything goes through credit card. But as far as the signs that happen, it's really seeing the same customer come through or seeing a person come through or somebody repeatedly going up to a guest room or people coming through the door saying, hey, I need to get to room 2316. How do I get there? So the staff knows to look out for that. The room attendants know that if children are left inside of the room for a long, prolonged period of time, to notify management and make us aware that something could be occurring inside of the hotel.
Okay, and you're saying in this instance, there was no red flags, no one checking on that room, no noticing multiple people going to that room, anything like that?
No. I mean, I share with you that we have seen in the past where there has been visitors that have gone up to a room and we've had them leave the property because of that. So we would notify, we would see that. And I believe that she had listed that or stated that she had 2 or 3 visitors over prior 24 hours or 2 days or whatever it may be. So we wouldn't notice. I mean, if it was, 5, 6, 7, 8 people coming up and down, yeah, we would notice that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing additional, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the board?
No.
Board will take this matter under advisement. We'll take a second call for item number 6. Has anybody joined us on behalf of Estella? I did receive a chat from the manager of record, Mr. Helder Brandow. Are you able to communicate with us if you're still with us? He was just here a moment ago. I was just communicating with him. Hello?
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, great.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. We can hear you. Are you on a device where you can turn your camera on?
Sure. Give me 1 second. Let me see. I have to think. Zoom.
Great. In the meantime, I will read back into the record. Item number 6, K&K Restaurant Group, Inc., doing business as Estella, located at 49 Temple Place. Date of the incident was October 23rd, 2023. Patrons drinking on public sidewalk in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and uncooperative with police in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.10 A and B. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Total George Brandale.
Great, and we do see you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I saw Officer Muckerhide there. He was on.
I'm Officer Muckerhide.
Sergeant Downey's here also.
Sergeant Downey's here.
Great, thank you. Sergeant Downey, is it possible to turn your camera on so that we can swear you in? Perfect, thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? You all please raise your right hand. Mr. Brandau, can you raise your right hand for us, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record?
I can.
Great, thank you. If you could please proceed for us.
License premise violation on Sunday morning, October 23rd, 2023 at 12:50 a.m. Officer Muckerhide in the 499 Alpha informed Sergeant Downey about a traffic obstruction on Temple Place. Further observations revealed a group of male patrons that exited from Estella, 49 Temple Place, approaching and talking with the driver illegally parked on Temple Place. The vehicle was illegally parked with others along the front of the business and the neighboring address. The vehicle was parked in a no stopping zone and was causing a traffic obstruction. An MBTA Silver Line bus was parked adjacent to this vehicle in a posted bus stop for passenger loading and unloading. The traffic obstruction caused vehicles to stop and wait down Temple Place all the way to the corner of Washington Street. Drivers exited their vehicles in an effort to identify the cause of such a delay. This group of patrons was observed attempting to direct traffic between illegally parked vehicles and the MBTA Silver Line bus. Drivers slowly approached and tried to weave past this unsafe street obstruction. During this incident, male patron number 1 and male patron number 2 were observed drinking what appeared to be cocktails from glasses they were holding as they exited Estella. They were joined by male patron number 4, who also had a cocktail glass containing liquid from Estella in his right hand. Male patron 1 was wearing a pink t-shirt with a colorful graphic logo and white lettering, blue jeans. He was observed holding a short, wide cocktail glass and a black drinking straw in his right hand. The glass was almost full of liquid. Male patron number 2, wearing a black t-shirt with white lettering on the front and graphic design, black pants, and white sneakers, was holding a short, wide cocktail glass with a black straw containing liquid filled almost to the top in his left hand. Male patron number 3, wearing a black jacket, red t-shirt, black pants, and black sneakers. This male did not appear to be in possession of any beverage. And male patron number 4, wearing a brown Texas Longhorn shirt, brown pants, black sneakers, was holding a short cocktail glass containing liquid in his right hand. Sergeant Downey responded to Temple Place to address the illegal parking obstruction and conducted a licensed premise inspection along with Officer Giblin in the Alpha 437 Alpha. After being directed by the door staff to the wall where the permits and licenses are posted on the left side front wall, Sergeant Downey was approached by an unknown black male later identified as Helder Brando, who shouted, quote, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" Quote. Sergeant Downey turned and asked this hostile man who he was and if he worked there. The male told Sergeant Downey that he was the owner and that he didn't appreciate the police coming into the lounge, quote, unannounced. Sergeant Downey explained to Mr. Brandau that he already spoke to the door staff and was directed to them by them to the wall to inspect the licenses and permits. Mr. Brandau again began to accuse Sergeant Downey of targeting his business and not conducting licensed premise inspections on other businesses, implying that it was discriminatory. Mr. Brandau attempted to harass, distract, and taunt Sergeant Downey during the inspection, including a few moments when he held his cell phone up in the direction of Sergeant Downey and said he was recording him to share this on social media. When Sergeant Downey explained to Mr. Brandau the reason for the license premise violation, he continued to be hostile, argumentative, and uncooperative. An intoxicated patron inside the lounge began to challenge the police and made accusations of discrimination because of the inspection. 2 other intoxicated patrons of the lounge were outside on the sidewalk and also began to challenge the validity of the inspection and violation while Sergeant Downey was issuing a violation notice to Mr. Brandau. Sergeant Downey and Officer Giblin issued parking tickets to the vehicles that were illegally parked on Temple Place in violation of the no stopping zone This is an MBTA Silver Line bus route with posted signage that needs to remain clear to allow large buses and other traffic to pass through without interruption or congestion. Parking tickets were issued for the no stopping zone with 3 cited violation numbers. Sergeant Downey issued Estella Helderbrandau a licensed premise violation notice number 060547 for patrons drinking alcoholic beverages on a public way and made note of the violation and the lack of cooperation with the police during the inspection. This incident was recorded via body-worn camera and captured in its entirety on FLIR camera A1 Temple Place PTZ from 12:50 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. and Temple Place 2 319 from 12:50 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. And that video should have been made available to the board.
Thank you, Officer McBride. We have received video. We are trying to find a way to watch it, as it does not work on a format that we were able to view. Mr. Brandau, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, can that video be shared with us as well? Because we have our own videos and we can't find this incident.
Is that a question for the police or for the board? We can't view the video yet. It's not in a format that we can view at this time.
I'm asking for the police or whoever can provide that information.
That was provided to the licensing board. There is a disc. I don't have a problem with it being shared. I'm not sure policy wise.
Thank you. If we can find a way to watch it, we will be sure to share it with you as well.
Okay. So there was a couple of things mentioned on here from parking. We've never seen anyone come out of the restaurant with glasses. First, it was initially when I spoke to the officer. He says plastic cups on there, until we told him that we don't even use plastic cups. Because he said there was some plastic cups found on the trash or whatever, like on top of the Bonjour's bin, but we don't serve plastic cups. Second, on our video, it just shows that there's an officer just sitting there for about maybe 15 to 30 minutes. And we can share this video if you want, where the officer is just sitting there waiting until probably some detectives who arrive. Once they arrive, then he goes in, he gets past the gentleman, doesn't ask for a manager, doesn't signal for a manager, and just goes in and starts, looking at the license and stuff. To my understanding, that's not how it's conducted, but they can do whatever they want. It's apparent that my business is being targeted.
Excuse me, I'm just going to jump in. Excuse me, Mr. Brandau, that is exactly how an inspection is done when police show up at a licensed premise. They immediately ask for licenses, but you can continue.
No, I'm asking you.
I've been doing this
don't,
longer than you've been at Estella's, and I can attest that is exactly how it's done.
So they don't ask for a manager. They don't ask for who's in charge.
I don't know, but they do look at the licenses right away.
Correct. Well, where would they know where the licensing is?
You can continue with your testimony.
Okay. So I'm asking you a question.
I'm going to let you finish your testimony. I just thought I heard
They
something that was
They don't
incorrect.
ask for a manager. They don't ask for an owner. They don't ask for a manager on site. Because I'm being told I have people that's been in the business for 30-something years, and they've never dealt with some sort of this. But again, it's apparent that my business is being targeted, and you're okay with that. The other question was the parking. That is a silver line, right? There's transit police. I have recordings of this that pass by that street multiple times within an hour times. And then there's cars parking there from all businesses. There's a jewelry store there, all types of businesses. Even people get out of park in front of our location, go on to the 2 restaurants in front of us. They don't provide a citation. They don't give a ticket. They just keep it moving unless someone complains. Maybe they superior complaints. They come in and then they give tickets. So if that is a no standing zone, anytime a police officer is passing by, they are to issue a ticket. And that will allow people, that will make it it's a $90 ticket. That will send a message to people that, hey, you are not supposed to park here. So the police cannot pick and choose when they want to provide tickets and when it's convenient for them. Again, I could record one day and provide you a whole recording of one day of how many times the police comes in and provides tickets. It can't only be when Black people are around that you all want to provide tickets. It can't be that issue. It has to be for all. So if that's a non-stopping zone, it can't be when you see people that you do not want in downtown that you want to provide tickets. So give tickets from night and day. So from the time they're not supposed to park there, which is 24/7, start giving out tickets. Not only the park people, police they have to do their own job with their duties. If there's a park, it's a non-parking zone. It's a non-parking zone 24/7. There's a transit police there who can give tickets. There's a police there. There's police that are patrolling that area 24/7. They should be able to give $90 tickets. And I think they can actually give more. And people will stop parking there. We can fight with people all day and say, hey, you can't park here, but they won't listen to us. We've tried cones. We were told not to do cones. So we don't have the means to tell people not to park there.
Thank you, Mr. Reno. Anything further before we move to questions from the board? Okay, we'll see if there are any questions at this time. Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. For the record, you were not written up for people parking illegally. You were written up for patrons drinking on the public sidewalk. And you said you would your own video from the night showing that people weren't drinking on the sidewalk?
Yeah, it's all over social media. I can send it over to you. We cannot see anyone.
I don't follow you on
drinking
social media, so if you'd like to forward
I
that.
understand that. But it's from the time they were there, we don't see anyone. We've never seen anyone come out with a glass of drinking.
Okay.
There's hosts. We've never seen that. So that's why I'm asking for videos.
Okay.
And we have our own videos of people being out there, but we don't have any signs of people drinking outside. That's just not the environment it still provides. But
Okay, I have a couple of questions for the police. Officer Muckerhide, I'm sorry if I butchered your name there, and Sergeant Downey. On this particular evening, it says that you were informed of a traffic obstruction. Can you elaborate as to why you went to Temple Place at that moment?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, so it was brought to my attention with Officer Muckerhide, and I observed the traffic obstruction as well. For those on the board, I'm not sure if they're aware, but Temple Place is a very small one-way street. It goes from Washington Street to Tremont Street, and the entire right side is reserved for the Silver Line bus. And there are times when the Silver Line bus will pull up there to load and unload, and it might park there for several minutes. The left side is very restricted parking, mostly no stopping, particularly in the area of where this licensed premise is.
Okay. Is this something so you're aware of this ongoing Silver Line issue, no parking issue at Temple Place? Is that something that you would say that you've been aware of?
Yes, ma'am, it is a common problem. We get hundreds a year calls for service for parking violations there. Meter maids are on that route. Mr. Brando is correct. The transit police frequently patrol through there as well. And they do enforcement actions, sometimes just moving along the parked cars that might be there and the other businesses in the area. But that particular night, though, it wasn't the other businesses. It was, the particular obstruction that was being caused by patrons that had exited his establishment and were talking to a vehicle that was illegally parked.
How do you know that? I apologize. This is the first time I'm coming on here without an attorney. I just don't have time to keep paying my attorneys for this nonsense. How do you know that it was particularly Estella's people? Because they were black?
No, you had accused me of that in the past as well, Mr. Brando. I don't believe you and I have ever
I don't
met each
even
other.
know you, pal.
I'm
I've
sorry,
never,
I can't
met you
talk
that
over you,
one
Mr.
time.
Brando. I'm sorry. This is the same hostile encounter that I had with him.
I
but it
know.
was much
Paid me out to
worse.
be the bad guy.
He plays the victim and then he begins to
Will
taunt
you
the police.
Mr. Brando, I can't hear the sergeant and I'm curious about what happened this evening. I can't hear him over Mr. Brando talking. Go ahead.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Yes, so I was there and I did make my own observations of what happened. Officer Muckerhide also made observations. I sat there for several minutes as Mr. Brando had stated in his testimony, and these observations were mine. It also included Officer Giblin, who arrived on scene and accompanied me inside and witnessed the hostile treatment from this business owner. Officer Giblin and I both tagged and ticketed those cars that were illegally parked after we had the encounter with Mr. Brando.
And ma'am, if I can interject, the video segment that I submitted to the board for review is a 40-minute video segment to ensure that the board has the ability to observe the patrons exiting the business with the alcohol in their hand, the vehicles parking with patrons entering and exit. So it's a much larger segment. I believe that the licensed premise inspection was much shorter than that, but I submitted a video that's 40 minutes in length, just to prevent any kind of suspicion that these may have been from bystanding businesses or from a butters.
Okay, we haven't been able to view that video. It's in a format that our computers can't read, but we're working on it. So
Ma'am, we can assist you either today or tomorrow in viewing it on our computers.
okay. Mr. Brando, I just had a couple of questions for you. I know there's been traffic issues here before and on the street where your licensed premises. I know we've talked about it before and you've expressed your frustrations with not being able to control who parks in front of your licensed premise. We talked about having staff standing outside to direct people to keep moving and not parking their car there. Could you share with the board today what your staffing model is like, and if your staff is able to move people along when they illegally park there? I think you've only been before us once before, so I don't know about the comment about having to hire attorneys. You've only been here before us once, but go ahead.
Hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So as far as for the patrons leaving, again, I would request that video. I'm not quite sure. From the videos that we have, I didn't see anything. I know we had one of the staff out there from what we saw. And as far as we have reinforced with more people who's always patrolling outside, but there's very little that they can do. They can talk to staff all they want. I mean, they can talk to the people parking there all they want, and there's people that will be very courteous and respectful, and there are people that will tell you, I will pay the $90 ticket. And there's really not much you can do. And they plead with them, and I was actually the one who told the officer to give a ticket. And anytime I see an officer on there, it's like, why are you not giving these people tickets? I plead with them. I think I just had work with Sergeant Gallagher, and and Officer Hernandez to do a monitoring, and they even also, mentioned that we were doing a much better job. But when we went in, there was no cars. We came outside. There was a car getting ready to load chairs over onto the next building. So I don't know if it's the hotel or the other side. I don't know where they actually entered, but it's very hard for us to facilitate.
Would you consider denying entrance to your restaurant to someone who doesn't listen to you and says they're just going to take the $9 ticket?
Would you consider providing me officers that you can just come in? I can give them a call and they can come in and give tickets or tell people to move. Because what you want me to do is tell people not to come in my restaurant, but I have bills to pay.
Okay.
But I can try to say, hey, no, I think I've tried to work with Mr. Shagun. I've tried to work with you on trying to facilitate something with with BPD on how we can work together, on whether I could have cones, whether I can.
I just think it's simple. I think you just tell the people to move along and not to park their car in a no stopping zone.
It's not that easy. It's a confrontational. It's not as easy as, hey, you don't come here. I mean, don't come into my space. It's not that easy with these people.
Okay.
I wish it was,
No,
an average person is about,
take your word for it.
40 to
I will
$80.
wait
I don't.
for the video. I assume I'm going to see your staff repeatedly telling people to move along and not ignoring the rules of the street. I'm assuming that's what the video will show me. You're saying it's very difficult for your staff to tell people to move along because you don't want confrontation. I'm going to take your word for it.
You could go.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon to see if they have any questions for Boston Police or for Mr. Brando.
I think you all can see me asking people to move their vehicles. You all have cameras on there, but it's very hard for us to just tell people to move their vehicles and deny them entry. That's never. You're just gonna have a very angry customer regardless, because we don't own the street. I know it's our responsibility to say, hey, from here, our door, you cannot park here or alleviate traffic, but people don't understand that.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, do you have any questions?
I really don't have any questions at this time. I do feel like, given the seriousness of the allegations levied back at the police, that we should have an opportunity to view these videos that Mr. Brandau says he has and the police have submitted. And I prefer to have an opportunity to see these videos and observe what they depict. And I'd rather reconvene this hearing. I would move not to close the record today. That would be my suggestion. So that's my motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Saxon.
Yeah, I think Brandau, you and the police and also the licensing staff, we should continue conversation and continue to try to seek a resolution. Brando, I want to hear exactly what you're saying. And I think I understand the frustration of who's responsible. I think the question is just like, who's ultimately responsible for those who are parking illegally? Is it going to be the responsibility on the establishment, or is it the responsibility of the police to issue tickets? I think, I feel like there's kind of like heightened emotions, but I just want to stick to the issue. And I think if we continue that conversation, and as Commissioner Liam said, to keep the record open, I do feel like there can be a resolution if there's cooperation on both sides. And if, you know, if some of the emotion can be kept at bay, I think there is a resolution that we can seek.
Thank
I've
you.
been told it's my full responsibility, which I'll take on. I'm not fully prepared for this meeting, so again, I'm okay. I'm currently in the trauma class here in Nashville, but it's I just jumped on. You know,
Well, Mr. Brandau, if you don't feel like, you know,
Sorry.
proper representation and you're implying that you might need it, you might want to.
I don't need proper representation. I'm just gonna do it on my own, and then you all decide what you want to decide. I'm tired. You know, I'm gonna do exactly what you tell me to do.
Can you speak to what the chair noted, which is something I noticed as well, is we only had you in front of us one time, and you're really making it seem like
this is not my first time
in front of us.
Yeah, it's probably because I'm bald, but I cut my hair off. But this is not the first time I've been dealing with harassment and for a very long time, since before opening. I know what it's like to be a Black man in America. I know what I've been going through. I know what other restaurants go through on a daily basis, and I know I'm being targeted. And that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to play pity the fool. I'm not playing. I'm not asking for help. It's part of the business. It's just what I do.
You are you're making very serious allegations, and do you want to?
It's not a very serious allegation. Let's get back to the facts. I would like a video. I don't want to go down that line. As simple as I would like the video if it's appropriate for you all to do to provide, so that we know if there was an issue or error on our end, so that we can implement new things to rectify any issues. And if there is parking issues, this has been an issue since day one. I met face to face with Commissioner or Madam Joyce and on discussing parking issues. I've dealt with city officials on parking issues, and it kind of just goes away, and then it comes back when there is a violation of some sort. I'm not too worried about the parking issue. I'm more worried about patrons leaving out with alcohol in their hands. That's a bigger issue. And if we fail that, I would need that to see that in video. I'm saying that in my video, I didn't see that. In my video, it just looked very sketchy. I'll provide that. You all would make that determination, but I don't. It's on you all to provide a law and order on this. So it's not on me. I'm just letting you know what I'm dealing with, and ultimately, the parking issue is something that the city also has to understand that there could be help on their end facilitating that issue. And then when I hear someone just say, "Hey, can you just deny entry?" We've tried that. That doesn't work. It's a double-edged sword, you know?
So Mr. Brando, if you do have video from this incident from this evening, please do forward that to the board, licensing board at boston.gov. Or if it's in a physical format like a flash drive, you can drop that off to our office, room 809, City Hall. I'll make sure it's shared with the commissioners. Similarly, as soon as we do receive video from Boston Police in a format that we can watch, we can share that with you as well. That is only due process. With that, is there anything further from the board on this matter?
No, we'll keep the record open until we receive the video and we share it with Mr. Brando.
Thank you. With that, the board will take this matter under advisement, and we'll keep the record open until video submissions have been received and shared, disseminated with the board and also with Mr. Brando. Those are all the items before the board this morning that will adjourn this morning's hearing. One note, the board will not be meeting tomorrow. The board will vote on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Notice is posted on the city's website. Thank you all, and
all right, thank you.
Okay.